G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with the next round of FIA Manufacturers Cup, or Manufacturers Series I guess it's technically called. Now, there was no video on this last week and that was a very big tale of woe for me. I had one shot, I had visitors, and my specific living arrangements make it difficult for me to disconnect and do all of the slots. They go very late into the night and it was very hard to do without impacting the visitors. So I was only able to do the first slot and I disconnected. Yep, absolute disconnected from my number one combination, Circuit de la Sarthe Group 3. So no video last week, but this was last night, last Wednesday, or the day just gone. Where are we? Southern Road Track C in the Ford's direction in Group 4. We had this combination previously and it was crap because the Toyota 86 is about a second off the pace, I predict, compared to the FF cars, which are ever superior at the circuit here. So I really wasn't expecting much, and this was very much a case of just do the first slot. There was really no point impacting my whole night, taking hours and hours on this combination just to get a very ordinary result. So I thought, I'll just do the first slot, we'll see what happens. If I crash, it is what it is. And we'll see, well, maybe I've done a bit of sleuthing, super sleuthing on the thumbnail, and you might already know how this goes. But let's just focus on the qualifying. We are behind Hyperdrift here for the slipstream. He was the second fastest guy. Well, I'm not going to say fastest, he was the second highest rated in terms of DR in the lobby, which generally is an alright indicator of speed. I'm number one, so I got the number one on my car, which was actually a bit of a disappointment because I knew I was not going to be very fast here and I would probably get quite a poor result. So the fact that I'm ranked number one in the lobby means that if I don't finish first, I'm going to lose DR. So it just compounds my woes here. If there was one less player ahead of me in any of the splits, I would have been bumped up into the bottom of the next split up, which would have been a little bit better for me. But that's not what happened. We managed to go out for another qualifying time, so luckily a 56-second lap only gives us a couple of opportunities rather at qualifying, so we can cancel back to the pits and jump out for another out lap and a fast lap, which is what we've done here. We've actually got ourselves in a very good position, right up behind Roostwin, who I know watches the video, so shout out to Roostwin there for giving me a tow for this lap. But we'll see as we're coming through the first sector here, one of two sectors of course. The sector split is just after turn 4, which is this fast left-hander coming up. Dab of the brakes just after the 50-meter board and chuck it in. The back of the car rotates a bit, which was hard for me to get used to, but I think I managed to ride it out pretty well. And then all the way through this downhill S's turns into an uphill S's here. It's all firm slipstream against Roostwin, which is very nice. We were about 2/10 or a tenth up at this point, but on the exit here, Roostwin just goes a bit wide and I have to feather the throttle. I was literally, what was that, for 5 centimeter overlap. If I wasn't 5 centimeters overlapped, I could have got the power down, and look at that, a tenth and a half down. We go for another one behind him. We didn't have enough time to cancel back to the pits, but unfortunately we just turned into a bit of a pinball down the hill, hitting the inside wall at turn 5, which messes you up for the entire lap. So it turned out that the first lap was actually our fastest, a 56.0, which is actually kind of an alright lap to be fair. But we are going to switch over to the hard tyres, which we have done. We'll discuss strategy later, but just for now, let's enjoy the Manufacturer Series introduction. Lovely. As always, we meet ourselves on the grid, and this kind of tells the story of what this race really is. 1, 2, 3, 4, top 4 Scirocco's. Volkswagen Scirocco's, FF. FF is superior here.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
They're an absolute rocket in a line, and this track is very much about flat out running. So it's flat out down the main straight, and it's flat out after turn 1, flat out after turn 4. There's a lot of flat out sections here, and that's why the Toyota 86 is so horrendously off the pace, and like I cannot emphasize that enough, horrendously. My best time trial lap was a 55.9, a very late 55.9. Top time was like a 54.9, so well over a second off, or just over a second off, I think. And on a track this short, a second off is quite a long way. Like on a 50-second lap, if you're a second off like that, you're pretty off the pace. And, you know, I don't mean to cause offense to anybody who is a second off the pace, but in this situation, the situation I'm specifically in, against the players that I often drive, the fact that I'm a second off the pace is, yeah, really not good. And I do know of a couple of Toyota drivers that actually gave this round a miss, in fact, due to the fact that the Toyota 86 is very slow here. And this is just confirming the fact that I'm just getting overtaken on lap 2 by this Lexus here, Lexus RCF. And I mean, he did have the slipstream and I didn't, but I'm still getting overtaken. Someone's actually crashed there. That was Meta 7 Gear, who crashed on the exit of turn 1. That's not good for him. I knew he wanted to work together at the front of the field to keep onto the back of the leader, but that has not worked out for him at all. But we'll just focus on my race now. Essentially, I kind of knew I was going to drop backwards, and what I wanted to do is basically just get as much slipstream as possible. So as soon as a car goes past me, follow their wheel tracks as much as possible and try to minimize any mistakes I might make, just to keep into the slipstream as much as possible. And this really shows. Look, on the exit of turn 9, that final hairpin there, Lexus RCF I don't think has the slipstream of the guy in 6th, but he's just stretching the gap out from me, and I have the slipstream. Mazda behind is still gaining on me. So really slow is this Toyota 86 here. But the strategy, okay, so we had soft, medium and hard tyres available for us, which is nice, but only the hard tyres were mandatory. So this race, obviously, I'm just going to touch on quickly. I don't need to touch on it any more than I'm going to. The pit times have been drastically increased, so now every race is just minimizing number of pit stops as Chupaghetti crashes, and the Lexus cuts turn 8 to try and get around the outside of everybody and up the inside of their hairpin. Doesn't quite work out for him, and I think he gets a half-second penalty. We'll see in a second as we've all bunched up here. Yep, half a second for the Lexus there. Now, as I was saying before, that all kicked off there. Pit time's been drastically increased, so every race is just the minimum number of pit stops now, and unfortunately for this race it is 0 stops. And because only the hard tyre is mandatory, there is no stops required, so we can do all 25 laps on the hard tyre, which is a pretty gross strategy because the hard tyres don't feel that great to begin with. So with 25 laps worth of tyre wear on it, or 25 laps in this instance, there's going to be a multiplier there that makes it feel like more. The car's going to feel like crap. So yeah, look, pretty gross strategy on this already gross combination. That is why I did not want to do any more slots than I am going to do here, which is 1. But let's continue on. Ledge has gotten past us. We're down in 8th. And Chupaghetti crashed, so we lost a position and gained a position there. We're still in 8th. And we're going to just focus on getting through this hairpin ledge. It's very slow on the apex. We run into the back of him. This was something I was finding with this battle pack here. There was really no working together. Everyone was fighting, and, you know, to an extent I was fighting too. And, well, actually not even to an extent. I think I was fighting quite hard, but I knew I had to stay with these guys. I knew I had to do everything I can to remain as far up the front for as long as possible in this particular race, just due to the dynamic that I have put myself in here. A very slow car on a track that is not worth it. But Metagear gets past us again. Meta 7 Gear, I never know how to say it. I'm going to end up calling him Metal Gear. He makes a mistake. He gets in front, makes a mistake, so I go for the move. I know that I can't lag behind. I have to try and keep with this pack up ahead. And, you know, it was at this point we're kind of clicked. You know, if Metagear gets in front of me, qualified way ahead of me, he's got to be faster. If I can stick into his slipstream, he could potentially pull me up the field. So if he was gonna go for the move, I'm just gonna let it happen and stick into his slipstream. But unfortunately, in that particular instance, that seemed to be what happened. But he made a mistake straight off the bat, and I didn't want to be stuck behind somebody making mistakes, so I went past him again. He's just gonna have to overtake me. I figure that he's going to get past me down the straight, so he might as well just get into my slipstream and make up the time he lost during that accident to get past me on the straight. And as long as he gets past on the straight, neither of us lose any time at all. So there was really no point me bumping him in wake of his mistake, because that would just lose me time, which I don't want. I want to gain as much time as possible, and as long as Metagear overtakes me on the straight, I don't lose any time. So that was the plan in my head, and you can see he's gotten very close. So he's within half a second, coming up to the hairpin now. Let's see how much time we gain on this battle pack up ahead. Bit of a definition of an apex, not really. You almost get 4 wheels on the grass. I'm not sure if we do there, but we'll see that gap to Metagear gets a much superior exit from the hairpin there. And he's going to have my slipstream all the way down the straight. You can see how quickly he's gaining. Look at that. It's like a matter of it's like a matter of a tenth. And he goes for the move here, but he goes very deep. Very frustrating, because I was letting that move happen. And, you know, once again, I'm not going to lag behind him. So I'm going to make that mistake. And I was saying, like, out loud during the race, I was like, I would stick behind you if you stop making mistakes. Stop making mistakes, and I'll stick behind you. But I don't want to get stuck behind somebody making mistakes. So but it's fine. Every time he goes for a move, I'll let it happen. But every time he makes a mistake, I'm not giving him a bump. That was my mentality. But heading down this hill, look at this pack up ahead. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 cars at least, or is it 5? Is there somebody sort of hidden by another car there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars there. And we run a little bit wide at this hairpin because I had a feeling he would go for the move here, which he did. So I'm going to stick behind the Scirocco, one of the strongest cars at this combination, so I know that I should be able to get a little bit closer to this pack up ahead, provided that the Scirocco, driven by Metagear, can catch up, which I think he will. He started in the podium positions, of course, so I know he's probably going to be faster than these guys, and given the fact that these guys are fighting very, very hard, I definitely think we're going to be making some inroads into this group. So even though I'm quite off the pace here, I definitely feel as though if I can put myself into the right positions at the right times in the closing laps, I can potentially gain positions. I was very strong through turn 9, the final corner, and strong through turns 1, 2, 3, and 4. So even though that's a bit of a flat out section, I could always gain through turn 1 especially. In fact, that's probably a better description of the part of the track I'm strong at. I'm not strong throughout 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm probably stronger throughout turn 1, and I end up losing the time I gain down the straight towards turn 4. But if I can use that to my advantage, you know, I reckon I can get myself into a position where I can keep a higher position than maybe I'm fast for, if that makes sense. But we managed to stick into the slipstream of the Scirocco very well, in fact. You can see we're definitely gained on this group up ahead, and they are fighting quite heavily, which is probably helping our case. But thanks to the slipstream, I can just about keep pace with this Scirocco, and it's obviously working a treat here as we head through turn 4. Just touch that curb, lovely, and ooh, bit of a mistake by Metagear there, and I thought for a split second he's going to spear into the barrier, but he manages to just recover. The FF cars are quite easy to recover from a snap of oversteer because there's no power going to the rear wheels. The back is quite stable in the grand scheme. So basically you just plant your foot and the car straightens up with the front wheels. That's generally how those cars work. Right, now we're going to head down the straight. We've got another Scirocco behind, and we've got the slipstream ahead, and the Scirocco is still gaining, and he's gaining very quickly. So once again, it just goes to show just how much pace we don't have at this point here. As we head through turn 1, he's in the inside there. I just turn in and have to turn back out because that Scirocco was ahead. Flash the hazards to say thank you for letting him go. But once again, stick into the slipstream. So Metagear has driven away. As soon as he picked up the slipstream off that pack up ahead, he was gone with the wind, and Chuppagetti is kind of in the same situation, and I'm in the same situation of just falling off the back. So I knew this race was definitely going to be just a matter of trying to lose the least amount of positions as possible. So basically, the further the race went on, and I kept the same position, Hang on, let me restart that sentence. If I could keep the same position for as long as possible, I would probably fall down the pack the least. So that was what I was going to do. I knew I was going to lose positions, and there was really not much I could do about it because I'm going down the straight and I'm just losing time for days. There's just nothing I can do, and I've basically just got to, it's damage limitations, just lose as least amount of positions as possible. And the next car behind, Iron Mask, he's in the Nissan GTR. It's an alright car, pretty decent car. Chews through its front tyres, but we are on the very durable racing hards, so there's going to be, you know, he's probably going to be understeering a little bit, but he's going to make up all the time down the straight against me, so I'm really not that concerned, or I'm not that hopeful I'm going to be able to keep Iron Mask at bay, but let's see how this dynamic goes. I'm no Iron Mask, I've raced him quite a bit, so I know we have a good rapport, and I think he ran deep into the bottom hairpin, or top hairpin, it would be the final hairpin, and yeah, he has a poor run through the corner, but because he got onto the power very late, he gets a good run down the straight. Look at that, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. But he's in my slipstream now, coming into turn 1. Does he go for the move? He does look for the inside there, and he sends it down, runs a little bit deep. I cut him back, although not quite, although I'm going to get around the outside of turn 2, not quite. He has the slipstream off the back of Chopaghetti, and once again puts him at a significant advantage compared to me. So the next car, Sky 13 in the BMW M4. It's a decent car in a straight line as well. In fact, all the cars are bloody decent in a straight line compared to this absolute snail that I'm racing here. So difficult. It's so painful for a Toyota GT86 driver just to sit behind and suffer for 25 laps at this track. It's a really horrendous combination. But let's see what happens here. I've got the slipstream off the back of Iron Mask. It's going to help my straight line speed a little bit, but that BMW M4 is a 7-geared machine, so it's going to have quite good acceleration, given that each of its gears are shorter than a 6-speed transmission car. But he does make up a little bit of time, but he loses at the end of the straight. I'm not quite sure what that's about. Iron Mask runs deep at the first corner there, and once again, it's the same dynamic as before. I don't want to get stuck behind somebody losing mistakes, because that'll just lose me more time than I need. So I managed to just get that overlap, and I'm not quite on the optimal line, so that probably loses both of us a little bit of time through turn 4 there. But it was at this point where I thought, oh, hang on, look at this. 1, 2, 3. Just around this corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that 6? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 6 car pack up ahead, and we're about 1.2 seconds off. I know that this Toyota, not much joy in the Toyota at the moment. The Toyota, I mean. Strong through turn 9. Look at that. I gained all this time back. I'm now 3/10 behind instead of 1.2. And I gained through turn 1. The Nissan is going to gain down the straight and in between turn 1 and 4 and 4 and 9. So I thought, I'm going to try and work together. Hazards on. I'm like, look at me, bump me, because generally when you're bump drafting, the car ahead flashes the hazards to say thanks. So I figure I'll flash the hazards to trigger that thought of bump drafting, and the Nissan actually plays ball. And look at this, I'm right onto the back of this pack at this point now. Generally I'd be losing time at this portion of the track, but thanks to that Nissan giving me a little bit of a bump, I managed to just keep onto the back. So now I want to work together with Iron Mask, although it is quite crucial. I do have to be ahead for it. Salamander goes into the pits. He forgot to change his tyres after qualifying, so that is not good for him, but he goes into the pits with his soft tyres. We run into the back of the Lexus. It all concertinas up at the final corner. That was frustrating, as I knew I could definitely gain. Just say I was ahead of this pack and they were bumping into each other every time they went through the final corner, I'd be gaining time on them for days, but unfortunately I'm stuck behind. As this Mazda of Salamander comes out of the pits, he's going to be on brand new hard tyres, so he's going to have a grip advantage, so I could potentially see him crawling back through the field, and we'll see how that works out for us. Iron Mask is still working with us, lovely. So we're right onto the back of this pack, 5/10 behind, still in the slipstream at the moment, and they're fighting quite heavily. So at this point here I was thinking, well, I hope one of you crash, basically. Chopaghetti goes wide, he's going to have dirty tyres. That's going to be especially difficult for that turn, that change of direction at turn 8 and turn 9. I think the Lexus hit the inside wall at turn 7 there, so that is not good for him. But we send it around the outside of the Lexus. Got to keep it here and onto the power nicely. You can see the 86 is very stable on the power, and we're just trying to fight for that slipstream, but that Lexus, once again, 7-gear machine that, so he's going to have superior acceleration, but I flash my hazards again. Nissan gives me another bump, flash the hazards to say thank you very much. So we are still in this fight, and this is what I wanted. Look now, right onto the back. Could potentially be going for moves here as we get a okay run through turn 1, and once again, we just begin to lose time as this straight wears on, because you might look at it and think, look at all the corners, you got 9 turns within 2.6 kilometers, yeah, but turns 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 are all flat out, so that's what the problem is here. It's not a handling track at all, it is a power track, and that is why your FFs are so strong. They will drop off in the race, which I'm hoping is what's happening to Chupaghetti up ahead. You can see he's fallen out of the back of the pack that was a lot larger earlier, and the cars up ahead are all still fighting. Another Constantina at the final corner. It's getting very awkward now. I know I could gain positions out of these accidents, but I'm unfortunately just getting caught in it myself. It's very, very difficult to position your car exactly where you like coming into that final corner, just because you've got that very loaded turn 8. You're sliding up through turn 8 to get into turn 9. It's hard to position your car when you're not gripped up on the circuit. Right, so Iron Mask gives us a bump, and that just pushes us back into this pack, which is now 3. There are cars ahead, another 3, so this pack that was originally 6 cars is now split into 2 groups of 3. But I know I could potentially get 6th. I'm right within slipstream range of 6th, so if I can just work together and play my cards right, we could definitely get an okay position here. But I think Akakuro hits the inside wall at turn 7, or what's that? No, turn 5 it would have been, apologies, and we managed to get a lot closer to here. Lexus runs wide. I managed to follow the Subaru around the inside, and he just moves over. Unfortunately, gives the Lexus the slipstream. It would have been more beneficial to give it to me, because it would have split me from, would have split the Subaru from the Lexus. But unfortunately, he gave the Lexus slipstream and ended up losing himself a position. I've also got Salamander coming through on my inside with the fresh, hard tyres, so there's no point holding him up, and I could potentially just follow this Mazda through now. So a little bit of fighting going on with Akakuro. It'll be very frustrating for Salamander, and I've still got Iron Mask behind, who I think is still in the mentality of wanting to work together with me. So let's hope that that continues. If I can grab the slipstream off the back of this very fast Mazda at this stage in the race and get bumps from the Nissan behind, I could be a very quick car on this circuit. Subaru makes a mistake on the exit of turn 4, and unfortunately I just make a mistake and downshift gears. And yeah, Iron Mask muscles his way past. I think that was fair game for him. He would have the same mentality as not wanting to get stuck behind a car making mistakes. So he has done the same thing, and I managed to just get the overlap against these 2 cars. So Subaru is about on par with the Toyota 86 in a line. He's going to receive a bump from the back of the Nissan here, and I think he has slipstream off the back of Salamander. I'm trying to move into this gap, but that Nissan is just fast enough just to get onto the back of the Subaru, but I managed to get a bit of a side toe and managed to keep an overlap. Iron Mask right around the outside, so close, right around the outside of 2 cars there, but he gets around the outside of me, and unfortunately there's a little bit of contact with the Subaru. He runs wide there. I managed to get the overlap here, and I'm just waiting to get in front of him. Bang, there, into the braking zone. Oh no. I receive a bump, and that's that. Smash into the barrier, and I get completely rotated at turn 4. I'm getting major flashbacks right now, because pretty much the exact same thing happened on the last time this was a combination and ruined my chances. Oh man, get past Ryoseki, who actually had an incident at the same portion of the corner, but down in 18th. Next car is 4 seconds up the road. I've only got 5 laps to go, so there's really, or is it 6 laps? It's going to be 6 laps, isn't it? We don't make any more positions except for against this Honda, who is recovering from a mistake at turn 1 of the final lap. So we get past him, and that was it. 17th. Man, what a disappointing end. I was actually getting really into that battle. I was really enjoying that battle there, and even though we were losing time for days, I think it was a battle worth being in, especially considering the car I'm driving. I needed to be keeping as many positions as possible, so if I ran a conservative race as I would normally do, I would just find myself lagging at the back. So I definitely needed to be in that battle, but unfortunately it just boiled over, and that was Iron Mask actually, who gave me the bit of a bump after the breaking point there, and you know, I race him a lot, so I'm not really stuck in the mentality of he's punting me off because I was in his way. I think he just made a mistake. I did question him in the lobby. I was like, who pushed me off? And he goes, it was me, sorry. And then he kind of suggested he felt like I broke early, and that's fair enough. If he felt like I broke early, that's his view of the situation. I'm definitely adamant I broke on time. Just after the 50 meter board, like every other lap, breaking the same place every lap. It was not before the 50 meter board. I checked the replay, and yeah, I definitely broke where I felt was necessary, and he just ran into the back of me. But everyone's allowed to have their opinion, and my opinion is that I broke on time. I mean, I looked at the replay and, you know, he punted me and still ran wide. So he lost the speed from punting me and still ran wide of the corner, still carried too much speed. So that tells me he would have broken way too late. But that's just my analysis. Obviously, in the race at the time, he may have felt he had more grip. I don't know. So, you know, like I said, everyone's allowed to have their opinion, and that's just mine. So it was definitely a mistake. There's no hard feelings there. I definitely didn't expect a good result there. I kind of wanted a top 10 because I felt as though I could have done it in that battle if everybody sort of kept battling as hard as that. I definitely felt like as though I could have achieved 10th, which would have been an alright result. So that's why I'm just a little bit dejected at what could have been. But no hard feelings against Iron Mask. I know it was a mistake. So at the end of the day, it kind of is what it is. And I wasn't going to waste any more time and do another slot because my DR would just go down astronomically. So if you remember, I was ranked 1 in the lobby in terms of DR, and I finished 17th. I lost 1,200 DR. So I knew if I went again, I'd just lose even more, so there was really no point there. We bring home 88 points, which supersedes our result at Fuji in Group 3 earlier. If you remember, I actually quit that race for the first time ever in FIA, so if I end up not completing enough rounds and my lower scores start to count towards my final score, I now have an 88 to take place at the 0. So I guess it's technically a better position than I was in. So, alright there. And it was actually a pleasure to be in that battle. It was actually a nice battle, to be fair. You get yourself in some crap battles, but that one was actually a pretty good one, and I was just absolutely eyes stuck open. I probably blinked about 4 times in the duration of that race, but at the end of the day, not the best result, but I didn't expect much to begin with. I definitely was not on track for a good result, so the fact that I ended up crashing, you know, doesn't hurt quite as much than if I crashed out of first place. But let's finish up the talk on that. Iron Mask, if you're watching, don't stress, man, it's all good. Let's just continue the good racing as always. There's really no need to focus on that. But that's going to round out this one today. Do hit that like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. Do leave a comment as well. Questions, comments, constructive criticism, as always, very much appreciated. But that's going to round out this one today. But that's going to be it for this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.